This is 7th grade activity 6.1. The objective for this activity, students will use cubes and isometric dot paper to investigate the surface area and volume of solids. The standard covered in this lesson is 7G3. The page numbers out of the hardcover book are pages 250 through 251, and out of the practice journal, pages 137 and 138. You will need actually a worksheet out of the folder over on the counter to help you with activity 1 for this lesson. Okay, so today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be drawing three-dimensional shapes and looking at them from different viewpoints. We're going to draw the front, the side, and the top of each of the stacks of cubes, and then we're going to find the surface area as well as the volume. Each cube has a side length of 1 unit. So for those of you that are very tactile, you need to be able to touch. I do have cubes over on the counter or in the cupboard above the counter that you could use if you'd like to stack cubes according to the way that it is set up in each of the figures in the book. But hopefully by doing the activity that I'm going to do right now, you'll be able to kind of break it down without having to use the cubes. But those are available if you would like them. Just make sure that you ask. So here, first of all, make sure you've got your graph paper. That's in the folder over on the counter. It should be marked like 6.1 lesson or 6.1 activity. And there's a worksheet in there for you to use instead of using the page 137 out of your practice journal. You'll use that for your figures, but you're actually going to draw on the graph paper. So here what we're going to do is we're going to draw each of these figures. So you'll notice the first figure is the same as your figure A in your book. We're going to go ahead and draw that as if we were looking at it from the top. So like if we were to stand above that cube setup, what would it look like from the top? So you'll notice the key thing to remember on these is take note how I have different colors here, or in your book how there's different shades of gray in your practice journal. So when I'm looking at it from the top, I'm seeing just these green pieces here. Okay, so if I were to look at that from looking over top, I would actually see two squares that kind of look like this. Okay, so there's my top view when I'm looking at it from the top. Okay, and what you guys are going to do is you guys will actually just draw what it would look like from the top. So you might draw something that looks like this. And if you want to shade it in, you could shade it in also. That's up to you. If you'd like to use different colors, you can use different colors. It kind of makes it look a little bit neater. It's easier to maybe count some things. Okay. So from the front, if I were to look at that from the front, so now you'll see that on my image up here, I'm actually using pink or red in the front, and I'm seeing that there are 2 stacked high. So like if I were to take this one right here and be able to push it back to be level with that other one, what would it look like? It would once again look like 2 squares, one stacked on top of the other. And this first one you could have also had drawn, because it kind of depends on how you looked at it. You maybe have it drawn like this, because maybe you were looking at it left to right. Okay, and that's okay. Then I would just have my blocks that would look like this if I was using my blocks to grab them and see what they look like. Okay, once again, the way that you have it turned isn't really going to affect it. For this activity, we're just wanting to see like how many faces would actually be there. Okay. If I were to look at that from the side, so from one of the sides, you'll notice here I've got 2 stacked high, and then on the very bottom, it's 2 wide. So it would look something like this. From the side, and if you want to color it in, you could color it in. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through and find the volume in cubic units. So volume is how many cubes are there that are actually representing or creating that figure. Well, we can see this one's pretty easy. There's actually 3 cubes, so the volume would be 3 cubic units. Okay, surface area is a little bit different, but the nice thing to understand about this is on this, the surface area is the area that's on the outside of that figure. Well, on the side, I would have 3 that are on the surface. I would also have that same 3 on the other side that's actually back here that we can't see. So there's 6 of them between those. Okay, from the front, if I look at that front view, I've got 2 that I could see from the front. Well, back here, there's actually 2 also that I can't see. So 2 plus 2 would give me 4 for a surface area. And then from the top, I can see these 2 that are here. Okay, I'm able to see these right here. There's also 2 down here that I can't see the bottom of. So that would also give me 2 plus 2 is 4. So to do my surface area, I'm actually going to add all of these together, which would give me 14. So I have 14 square units, or units squared, if that's how you would prefer to write them. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and try a few more of these together. Once again, it's all in that visual understanding how to break it apart so that it's easier to see. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump to C. So on your graph paper, you can go ahead and jump to C and do letter C with me. So letter C is kind of a different figure. So once again, the nice thing is mine is color coded. Yours is just shaded differently in grays. If you would like to see the color version, that would be out of your hardcover book on that page. What would they say, like 250? Yeah, page 250 would have the colored version if you prefer to see the colored version. Okay, otherwise your practice journal has the black and the shades of gray version. Okay, so from the top, that's my green. I can see that there's 2 that are side by side going this way, and then 2 that are side by side going this way if I were to push this one down and make it level. So it looks something like this, and yours may be turned different than I have mine turned. So it looks like that. So see how I've got 2 here and then 2 here. Okay. From the front, if I look at it from the front, you know, your front may be different than my front. So just remember that when you go to do these independently, you have your front and your side switched around. It's okay as long as you have each of the 3 figures listed. So I chose from the front to be this pink side because I just said that the pink was the front. So I would have 2 on the bottom, and then on the right side, 2 stacked high. If I were to be able to go through and pull this one forward so that it was matched up. So it looks something like this. Okay, and if yours is turned the other way, that's okay. We're still seeing those 3 blocks. And then from the side, which I'm using as my blue side, I can see that it's too high. The side is the easiest one to see. And then I've got 1 here. Okay, so you can see my front and side to me look very similar. Maybe you had one of yours turned slightly different, but either way, we ended up with where we had kind of a set of 3, almost creating a block, one of those blocks missing. So now if we go through and we do our volume, we're gonna go ahead and count our number of cubes. So volume is probably the most difficult to do, especially if you're somebody that's tactile and you actually physically need to see it and be able to touch each block. But I'm going to go ahead and kind of color on the block. So here's one of my blocks. And then I've got 2 blocks there. That's taking up that block. And a 3rd block here. And then I've got a 4th block that's down here where we really only see 1 face of it that we're seeing. So we have 4 blocks that are making up that figure. So 4 cubic units, or 4 units cubed. For surface area, well, that's the surface, the outside parts. So from the top, we could see that there were 3 blocks from the top. There's also 3 on the bottom that we cannot see. That looks exactly the same as this figure here. So 3 plus 3 would give us 6. Okay, from the front, we can see those 3 red blocks. There's also 3 red blocks from this back side if we were to look at it turned around. So we've got 3 that look like this and then another 3 that look like that. That once again is a 6. And then from the side, well, we can see this right side here. There's also one over here that looks the same. Although 1 block is sticking out differently, there's still 3 blocks on that side that we can see. So 3 plus 3 gives us another 6. So our total surface area, we're going to go ahead and add all of these together. 6 plus 6 plus 6, or 6 times 3 would give us 18 units squared, or square units. Okay, so once again, it's just breaking it down, trying to see what it looks like. If you are somebody that needs the physical blocks so that you can see them, I've got them that you can go ahead and set them up to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and try another one. Let's do letter F. This one's kind of complex. Okay, once again, the color coding makes it very nice on this. It makes it pretty easy to see. So from the top, which are my green ones, I can see that I've got, if I were to push all of these down so that they were level, I would have a set of like 3 blocks going across and then 2 blocks and then 1. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw it like this. And if yours is turned differently than mine, that's okay. Okay, so it looks something like that. And yours might be turned or rotated differently than mine. Okay, so that's what it looks like from the top. Okay, from the front. Okay, so our front is our red. So we've got a stack of 3 here, a stack of 2, and a stack of 1. So a stack of 3, it's going to look similar to my top. Stack of 3, stack of 2, stack of 1. And then from the side, once again, I've got a stack of 3, a stack of 2, and a stack of 1, so maybe like this. Okay, once again, they all look similar. So if yours is turned slightly, that's okay. You can see that in each setup, if we were to look at it from those different viewpoints, we would be seeing 3 blocks. Or not 3, 6 blocks total. Okay, so now if I go through and I do my volume, so this one's a little bit tricky. You have to realize that you are actually not seeing all of your blocks here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mark on here. So here in this stack right here, I would have 1 block. And I'm going to mark on the top of each one. In this stack, I have 1, and in this stack, I have 1. So now when I go to that next stack back, there's actually 2 blocks here because I need one underneath of this one that I just wrote a 2 on. And there's 2 blocks in this stack. I just can't see that second block in each stack. And in that very top or that furthest one back, I have actually 3 blocks because there's 2 blocks underneath that one holding it high enough to be able to see that third block. So now when I count these, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blocks. So the volume would be 10 units cubed or cubic units. Okay, and now to do surface area, same thing. We get to see the surface on each of these. So if I were to go through and actually look from the top, well, I see those 6 blocks. I also see the same 6 blocks from the bottom. So 6 plus 6 is going to give me 12 from the top and bottom. Okay, from the front, I can see the 6 red blocks from the front. Well, there's also 6 red ones back here that I can go through and see. Okay, so 6 plus 6 again would give us 12 here. And then from the side, I can see the 6 blue ones from the side here. And then the side back here, there's also 6 that I see. So 6 plus 6 is going to give me 12 once again. So now if I do surface area, I have 12 plus 12 plus 12, which would give me 36 units squared. Or square units. Okay, so that's working with that very like having to represent something on a 2-dimensional paper that's supposed to represent a 3-dimensional figure. It is a hard concept. Once again, if you need the physical so that you can actually break it apart, you can go ahead and get cubes from me so that you can actually stack them up and see them the way that you want to see them. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and flip to the next page. So you'll go ahead and finish out the last, 4 that we didn't do together. Go ahead and do those, and then you can kind of check your answers, mainly focusing on your area and volume when you're checking your answers. You can look at my figures, but if you looked at the journal book, maybe your front and your sides are different than what mine are, okay? So here it says, draw all the different solids that you can by joining 4 cubes. 2 have been drawn. Cubes must be joined on a face, so you can't join them like a corner to a corner. And also just not just on the edges, they have to, the face of them. So when I talk about a face, the face is like the flat part of the cube, that's a face. Okay, this right here is a vertice or a vertex, and then an edge would be like this corner kind of, where 2 faces meet. So you have to join them on a face. So you have 4 cubes. Now, if you'd like 4 cubes, you'd like to go grab 4 cubes from over off the counter, you can grab 4 cubes and just so that you can actually manipulate them and see what they look like. Now, this is kind of complex, so I don't want you to stress out if you have trouble drawing these. I am not very good myself at drawing on an isometric graph just because the dots, I'm very visual. It's hard for me to do the dots. So I'm going to do my best, the best that I can. And the key thing is that you're just trying it. You're trying to come up with some different shapes. If you want to just do those shapes on a sheet of paper and drawing what it would maybe look like from the front, the top, and the side, you could also do that instead of doing it on here. You could do graph paper instead of the dot paper. Okay, so I'll do the dot paper. So one way that we could actually, other than the 2 things that they have here, these are actually 2 things that are exactly the same, okay? So these 2 figures right here are the same figures, just that one of them has been turned around. So those actually aren't different shapes. It's just that we're seeing it from a different angle. So when I go through to draw these, I'm going to try and come up with as many different shapes as I can. So here we've got a block of 4. Well, if I were to stack 2 on top of this, here and there, well, that would give me the same shape. It's just that it would be flipped upward. So that I can't do something like that. But I could do something like this, where maybe I draw 1, 2, 3, 4 long. And then, like I said, I'm not very good at drawing on these, so I'm going to try my best. So I could have where my cubes, so there's maybe the top of my cubes, and then I'll draw here so that we're seeing the sides. And this dot paper is it is very hard to draw on. So just give it your best shot just to try. Some people are really good at it. And some people, if you're like me, you struggle with it because I'm not very good at drawing 3-dimensional shapes. So there's a figure that I could have. I could have where I have 4 blocks that are like right side by side. Okay, so maybe another figure I could do, maybe kind of like an L shape where I've got 3 and then I've got 1 sticking off the edge. So maybe I could draw it like this, 3 blocks long. And then maybe 1 block coming off of one of the ends. So maybe something like that. The key thing is I want you to just try it out. Even if you're just copying exactly what I'm doing, that's okay. I just want you to try it out. So that's another way that you could go through and actually draw with 4 blocks. Maybe one more might be, and when I look at this, I think of Tetris. I don't know if any of you guys have ever played the game Tetris, but it's like where you're taking geometric shapes and you're trying to make rows so that it deletes out the rows. It's a game. Okay, so maybe I could do the same thing where I've got 3 blocks long. And this time, instead of having the 1 block off of the end, maybe I have that 1 block sticking out in the middle like this. I don't know if that's right. I guess that kind of looks like it. So you've got that 1 block that's kind of sticking out on the very middle instead of the end. So that's pretty much all of them I have, and you might be able to come up with some other figures, but I think that's pretty much most of them. Like I said, I just want you to try it out. Give yourself an opportunity to kind of mess with this dot paper. It is something different than graph paper, so it just kind of has you look at an image a little bit differently. So good luck with this. Key thing to remember is when you're working with surface area, you're going to count all of the surfaces that are on the outside of that figure. And when you're working with volume, you're counting your cubes. So like in this example, I would have a volume on all of these figures of 4 because there's really 4 cubes that are making up each of the figures. So good luck with this one.